Hello everyone. Today's topic is lung volumes and lung capacities. We all need oxygen for our energy production by our cells. This oxygen we get from atmosphere through the process of respiration. Also, our cell produced carbon dioxide which has to be exhaled into the atmosphere. This this all process is carried out by our respiratory system. So in this topic, we will discuss the anatomy of our respiratory system as well as we will go through the process of respiration. The functioning of lungs can be measured by the certain parameters which are lung volumes and lung capacities. And in our respiratory system, we breathe in the air through our nose, which is then come into nasal cavity from where sphenoidal sinus and frontal sinus makes it warm and moist. Then this moist and warm air goes through the pharynx, which is a part of respiratory system as well as of digestive system. Then this air filtered through larynx. Larynx has various vocal folds which filter the air, and as well as it acts as a sound box for our body. It creates the vocal sound. Then this filtered air goes into the trachea, which is the windpipe of our respiratory system. This trachea then further divided into two main bronchus, each for each lung. This bronchus then further divided into small branches called bronchioles. At the end of bronchioles, there are various sac-like structure called alveoli, which are the main site for gaseous exchange. And there is a muscular organ called diaphragm, which which has a very important part in our process of respiration. Our pharynx can be divided into three parts: nasopharynx, which is associated with nasal cavity; oropharynx is connected with oral cavity; and the hypopharynx. Similarly, larynx can be divided into three parts: supraglottis, glottis, and hypoglottis. Glottis is a very thin membrane-like structure which divides the esophagus from the larynx, and it has vocal cords which create the vocal sounds. Trachea is a pipe-like structure which is covered by C-shaped cartilages. These cartilages provide the protection to trachea as well as it prevent the collapsation of trachea. This trachea is further divided into primary bronchi, then which is again divided into secondary bronchi, and then finally to bronchioles. And each bronchiole has various sac-like structure called alveoli. Our left lung is smaller than the right one. Left can be divided into two lobes, and lung can be divided into three lobes. You can see the structure of lungs here. The process of respiration can be divided into two processes: inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation, when we breathe in, is called inhalation, and exhalation when we breathe out. So the process of inhalation and exhalation carried out by two muscles, that are intercostal muscles and diaphragm muscles. At the time of inhalation, diaphragm and intercostal muscles both constrict itself. When diaphragm constricts, it pulls down towards, and intercostal muscles pulls up on the constriction. This creates an vacuum inside the lungs, which this vacuum pressure fills the air into the lungs. Similarly, at the time of exhalation, both the muscle relaxes itself, which release the pressure and then throw out the air from the lung. So this is the basic process of inhalation and exhalation. At the time of inhalation, both muscle constrict itself and create the vacuum pressure, whereas At the time of exhalation, intercostal muscles and diaphragm muscles relaxes itself and throw out the air from the lungs. Gaseous exchange takes place at the site of alveoli. Alveoli are very small sac structures which have only one cell thick line, and it is covered with a complex network of capillaries. Capillaries also have very thin lining of cells. This thin surface allows the diffusion of oxygen from alveoli to capillaries. Also, it allows the diffusion of carbon dioxide from capillaries to alveoli. This process takes place by the simple principle of diffusion. Oxygen move from high concentration to the low concentration through a passive diffusion. And similarly, carbon dioxide is also diffused from capillaries to alveoli through the diffusion. So this is the main site for gaseous exchange by the process of diffusion. Functioning of lung can be measured by lung volumes and lung capacities. There are four types of lung volumes. Lung volumes are the volume of air that are present at different levels of the respiration. When we are at the resting stage, the volume of air that we breathe in and out is called tidal volume. But when we uh, take a deep inspiration, the volume of air that is inhaled at the time of deep inspiration is called inspiratory reserve volume. The volume of air that we exhale during the forceful expiration is called expiratory reserve volume. And all after the expiration or exhalation, there is some amount of air that is remain in the inside of lungs, which prevent the collapsation of lung alveoli. This volume of air is called residual volume, which remained after the forceful expiration. So there are the four types of volumes. Tidal volume is the volume of air of at the resting stage. Inspiratory volume is the inhalation volume of air at the time of deep inhalation. Expiratory reserve volume it is at the time of forceful expiration volume, and residual volume it is the remaining volume of air that remain inside the lungs after forceful exhalation. Similarly, there are four types of lung capacities. Inspiratory capacity is the maximum volume of air that can be inhaled during the resting stage. So it is a total of tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. So it is the volume of air that maximum we can inhale. Vital capacity is the maximum volume of air that can be exhaled by the deep inspiration, following a deep inspiration. So it is the maximum volume of air that we can exhale. And the functional residual capacity is the air which we have remain in the lungs after a quiet breathing or resting stage breathing. It is the expiratory reserve volume plus the residual volume. And total lung capacity is the total amount of air that our lungs can hold up. This is the total of all volumes. This lung capacity and lung volumes can be understood by the spirogram of a lung. A spirogram is a wavy graph that we get from the spirometry of lung functioning. We can understand these here. It is the resting stage volume of air inside the lung, which is tidal volume. Then inspiratory rhythm volume, when we inhale the air through deep inhalation. Expiratory rhythm volume is the volume of air we exhaled by the forceful exhalation. And the residual volume is that which is remained in the lungs even after the forceful exhalation. Similarly, we can see the vital capacity is the total of inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume and plus expiratory reserve volume. So it is the vital capacity means how much air we can breathe in and breathe out at maximum. It remains the residual volume inside the lungs only. Functional residual capacity is the residual volume plus expiratory reserve volume. That this is the volume which remain inside our lungs. And the total lung capacity can is the measurement of the air which our lungs can accommodate. So I hope you have understand all the functionings of lung, and this spirogram provide the measurement of lung functioning. When any individual has any disease, this spirogram shows at where the functioning of lungs are being affected by the disease. So I hope you understand all the aspects. Thank you very much.